Well, okay. Welcome to the Parsha class for Parsha Vayigash. It's a very short class, just some ideas about food in regard to last week's Parsha, where the Torah teaches us lessons about fat, the effects of famine on our eating habits, and the importance of parsonage and more. So just we'll start with chapter 45, verse 18. Uchu et avichem vet bateichem. This is Yosef tells his brothers once he reveals himself to them that they should take their father and your household, and come to me to, in other words, to Egypt, to Mitzrayim from Canaan. Lachem and I'm going to give to you at Hatov Haaretz, at Tuv Haaretz, the good of the land of Mitzrayim. V'yichlu, and you'll eat it at Chelev Haaretz. You'll eat the fat of the land. So obviously, fat here is not literal. We're not being invited to eat fat. The fat of the land means the best part of the land. The best part of something is it's a metaphor for what's good. Now, why is this a good metaphor? So says Rav Hirsch, because fat is essentially food that's set aside by the body for its own future nourishment. It is a reserve being stored for a future time of potential need. So it's really the most amazing thing. It's something that it has a use, and its use is for the future. That's really what the best of something can be, right? Good things don't last forever, but something that's even better than that is something that lasts a long time. So that's one idea. And last week's parsha, chapter 45, verse 23, tells us, "Ula aviv shalach kazot," and he sent to his father asara chamorim, 10 male donkeys, nosim, that were carrying mituv Mitzrayim, the good stuff of Mitzrayim, the eser tonot, and the 10 female female donkeys, nosot bar valechem umazon, that carried grain and bread and mazon, and that's mazon is translated as food for the road, right? Trail mix, if you will, all right? Aviv laderech, to his father for the road. And it says he said the best he sends his father is old wine, is one opinion, or split bean. That's another opinion. Those are opinions of the the Gemara Megillah 16b, and the Midrash and Bereshit Rabbah 94:2, respectively. That say that's what he said. Now, what do these things have in common? They both are supposed to have a calming effect. He wants his father to be calm on the road. This is Rashi brings that there. Um, yeah. Um, why is there a distinction between grain, bread, and food here? It's three different things. We mentioned that in the translation. And victual. I'm going to translate victual as food. It's probably the best. All right. Since the verse already mentioned bread, mazon, must be food eaten with bread, according to this opinion, Rashi. And maybe this is the reason why a person who accidentally said the bracha of mezonot, it yotze b'di'evid, so fulfills his obligation of saying the blessing after the fact. There's a special halacha that if you say mezonot, if you were about to eat bread and you by accident said mezonot, it counts. I'm saying here why. So this is the opinion of the Chai Adam. That it's related. In other words, mazon, this mazonot is food that you eat with bread usually. So this is so it's related like that. Chapter 47, verse 12. V'yichalkel Yosef et aviv et achav et kol beit aviv lechem lefi hataf. And Yosef sustained his father, his brother, and all his father's household with bread, according to the needs of the little ones, the taf. Well, why is that the standard for how much bread they need? So the commentaries explain Yosef had the power to give his family immense delicacies. They could have partied every single day, but decided just on meager bread, and not just bread, but the bread enough only for a child. Only a child's needs, says this foreigner. Why? Because even a king and his household should avoid ostentatious food during the time of famine. The the French nobles could have learned a lot about that before their revolution. Um, Let them eat cake, sort of idea here. Um, and uh, and then chapter 47, verse 13, the next verse says, "V'lechem ein b'chol haaretz." There was no bread in the whole land. Ki kaved harav ma'od. This is according to the way we understand the Torah. This seems to be going backwards in time to when Yosef started setting everything up. The fast was the famine was very strong in the land. V'tela Eretz Mitzrayim, Eretz Canaan, Mipnei Hara'av, and the land of Egypt, the land of Canaan, suffered because of the famine. And during a famine, people tend to eat more than usual, making themselves hungrier faster. So unsatisfying is the food during the famine, says Or HaChaim, that he's seen in his time, in the time of the Or HaChaim is writing in the 1700s in Morocco, he's seen that a single person might eat as much as 10 people eat during a regular year and still remain unfulfilled and unsatisfied. So that's what happens during a famine. That's the kind of sensitivity that we need to have. People just they eat more when they're hungry, and they get less out of it. So they need to eat. They need to keep eating and eating and eating. So next chapter 47, verse 17. Again in last week's parsha, Ve'aviu et miknehem. They brought their cattle to Yosef. This is the Egyptians when they had nothing else to give. El Yosef yitin lahem Yosef lechem basusim umiknei hatzon umiknei habakar. He gave them. He traded them bread for horses and for flocks and for herds and for donkeys. Uvachamorim v'na'aleim balechem b'chol miknehem b'shana hahi. And he fed them with bread in exchange for all their cattle for the year. So that's the kind. He basically created a serfdom, a certain economic system wherein the people of Egypt owed Paro for everything, and in such a way he basically took control of all their things. But it says here the commentaries, in particular Sforno, quoting the Gemara in Tanya 11a, that Yosef fed them bread. Second. In small amounts because it is improper to overeat when there is a famine. Again, it's not just it's impossible to overeat. You have to keep eating and eating and eating, but also it's in terms of conduct and how we carry ourselves. It's just not the right thing to do to eat too much when other people are suffering. One moment. All right. Chapter 47, verse 22 and 26. Two different verses, but this is going to be our last comment here. You'll see that these two verses are related, even though they're 4 verses apart. Rak admat hakohanim lo kana, only the land of the priests he did not buy. He let the priests not have to worry about this. This is the Egyptian priests, right? Ki chok lakohanim at Paro. Paro had a rule about priests. V'achlu et chukam asher natan lahem Paro. They would eat what Paro gave them. Al kein lo machru et admatam. Therefore, they did not have to sell their land, and they didn't. Besides that, V'yasem will tell Yosef chok ad yom hazeh al admat Mitzrayim. And Yosef made a rule because of this for all of the land of Egypt, and the Pharaoh lachomesh, that Paro should receive a fifth, right? That this is a tax that the Paro would receive. Rak admat kohanim levadam lo hayta lefaro. Only the kohanim did not have to pay this tax. Now, this was a way for Yosef to support the kohanim. Any kind of person who claimed to be a kohen could be supported in this way. Now, this is very unique, but it was original then, but it actually continues to this day. In other words, every religion in countries where this is upheld can claim what we call parsonage, right? The person who is a leader of a religion, a rabbi, a Talmud Chacham even, can claim that parsonage and not have to pay certain taxes. So because Yosef showed respect for the property of priests, we have a law of parsonage that allows for priests, even Talmidei Chachamim, to not be required to pay certain taxes. The Gemara in Bava Batra talks about this. And where else? Sanhedrin. Okay. So in terms of that, what's the point? A community helping such people earn a living wage by providing their necessary expenses should be allows, right? A community allows for such great people to afford to reside in these communities. The sages say that those who support such scholars will merit to reside with them in Olam Haba, and we are discouraged. One second. This is why I do this. Gives me a chance to copy paste stuff, fix stuff up here. We are discouraged from living in a place where the talents of such scholars are even used for governing. So it's not just menial work, but even such things as governing. We are encouraged to not have the Talmud Chacham do that kind of thing. So thank you for listening to this part of the class. I'm going to just pause here for a moment, if you don't mind, stop the share, and